All right, joining us today on Pirate Radio Live from Pack Pride, Cory Smith. Cory, good to have you on again. How you doing, man?
Yes, sir. Doing well. Good to be on with you guys.
Let's go ahead and get this out of the way because I just talked to Mac McCarthy earlier, former college basketball coach, and we talked a little Will Wade. How's the Will Wade madness going on in Raleigh right now? I got to imagine people are pretty excited about that.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah. It's like the rare time that NC State fans, boosters, and the AD all wanted the same guy and actually got him. Like, you think back to the last few coaching searches. Some of them haven't gone well. Some of them have led to getting Sidney Lowe at the last minute, getting Mark Godfrey, which worked out nicely. And then obviously the last one, Kevin Keats, was one that obviously Debbie Yao really liked, but the fan base was kind of indifferent on. They're like, he's one of the mid-major level, but has he really done anything outside of that? And he proved himself in the early years, but this was the first time around that was like, all right, this is our guy, and I think the fan base has really gotten behind him from an NIL perspective, from a social media perspective. It's been kind of crazy to see the way that people got behind him there too. So and obviously getting a few portal additions so far. They also landed a 5-star this past weekend, and Matt Abel at the guard position. So there's already still some good vibes going on. They still got 7 more roster spots to fill, but a lot of good things so far.
Real quick, from a football perspective, Cory, Pirates and Pack will open up in Raleigh later on this calendar year. Anything coming out of the spring for NC State making headlines? What are the talking points?
Not a ton. Just heard, so far I've heard that the offense was, well ahead of the defense this past spring, and that's to be expected. The defense had a lot to change. Obviously, losing Tony Gibson, DJL, it comes in and new scheme, new system, everything. So we'll see exactly what the defense looks like once we get to that point. But everything we've heard is that CJ Bailey has progressed. Hollywood Smothers, who had a good into the season last year and kind of became the bell cow back, except for the third quarter against ECU, which was weird. Those guys have really progressed, and we'll see what the wide receiver core has to offer. But, Noah Rogers, a couple guys that have come back from last year as well. Wesley Grimes, one of them. So several names to know at the top of that list. But we'll see if the defense is up to snuff by the time, the fall ends and, fall camp ends and we get to the season opener.
Yeah, I'm a bit hypocritical when it comes to bowl games. On the surface, I don't think they matter that much. And then I saw the kickoff, and it's NC State and ECU, and I was like, all right, I think I'm into this game. And
This matters. This matters.
and
Yeah.
it did. I mean, it mattered to obviously the players that we talked to, but also Blake Harrell. I don't want to put too much on it, and I don't want to say it wasn't anything, but how much pressure does it add to Dave Doran to win the opener this upcoming season?
I mean, I think regardless, the pressure was going to be there to win the opener, but it does add a little bit more. The fact that you can't, as NC State fan base doesn't want to lose 2 times to ECU. They don't want to lose 2 times to anybody, back to back. But losing to ECU in a bowl game and then losing to ECU in the season opener, that would be a bit of a black eye for a guy that talked several years ago about trying to break off the whatever you want to call it, the hook and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, Dave Doran, and he's clearly taking it personally more than NC State fans have let on.
All right, on to baseball. Cory Smith joining us, Pack Pride, and it'll be the Pirates and the Wolfpack at Clark LeClaire coming up at 6. Usually at this time of the year, Cory, both teams would have better records. Sometimes they'd have a number beside their name heading into this game. Kind of different here. NC State is coming off a couple of wins against Virginia, but the Pirates got a lot of questions at this point in the season. How about NC State? What's the feeling over there with the baseball team, the Pac-9 so far?
Yeah, it's been looking up in the last couple of weekends. Obviously, you'd rather win the series against Duke, but they looked solid in that series. And this past weekend against UVA, obviously you needed a miracle comeback to be able to do that, but they have the bats to be able to win games. They just haven't been able to put it all together. Chris McHugh, Josh Hogue, those two kind of the heroes this past weekend. Drew Lamphere getting a chance to step up, and then Luke Nixon, a guy that's done it both at the plate and on the base paths as well. Not as many stolen bases as you'd like from him so far this season, but 11 of 13 on the year. So they've got a couple pieces that they really, really like and have played well so far this season. Haven't been those like big, really big bats so far yet for NC State. Justin DeCrisio and then Braden Frostman, along with the two that I mentioned earlier, Chris McHugh and Josh Hogue, both of them. They're all tied at 6 home runs apiece so far. So no one's really separated as the big bat in this lineup, but Chris McHugh has really been the guy so far this season to be the most consistent, hitting near 350 so far. There's only 2 guys in this entire lineup that are hitting over 300, but obviously slugging percentage for NC State, no guy over 600 so far, but 557 again for Chris McHugh, and that's kind of where you really want this lineup to be able to kind of keep turning over and be able to score some more runs consistently. But they've been able to do that with the home run here lately. We'll see if that translates to tonight against ECU.
And it looks like midweek, State has been putting up some runs, a lot of double-digit scores. Most of the time it's State, sometimes the opponent. So we should, I guess, expect to see some runs tonight from one, if not both teams. Could be some runs on the board.
Yeah, the question mark for NC State in midweek games has constantly been who are you going to put out there on the mound, and that's been a little bit of a shuffle as far as the starters are concerned. They tried to go a couple times with Cooper Consiglio, and that hasn't gone particularly well. I'm interested to see who they go with tonight. I don't know if that's necessarily been announced at this time we're recording this, but they've got a couple guys that have been pitching well out of the bullpen. Andrew Schaffner as well has pitched well, so we'll see if he gets an opportunity. Anderson Nance has pitched well too. A couple guys that maybe get those opportunities over a Cooper Consiglio, and Matt Willitson kind of sitting back there as a potential guy that hasn't really pitched so far this season. Came back from injury this past year, but your weekend guys are solidified right now. It's still that midweek, and who are they going to go with? And in a pressure situation, I wouldn't be surprised to see them go with Consiglio still, but he's a guy that has an over 7.5 RPA, ERA going into this game. So it's a little bit of a question mark.
Cory Smith joining us. Going to be a great crowd. A lot of purple, a lot of gold, and some red smattered in between. So going to be a fun one out there at Clark LeClaire Stadium. Cory, as we wrap it up, man, the ever-changing landscape of college athletics. East Carolina, we pride ourselves on being kind of the underdog and trying to beat up on the in-state teams like NC State. I got a lot of state buddies that feel the same way, where they're trying to beat Carolina and Duke, and now it almost feels like the ACC is trying to catch up with the Big Ten and the SEC. Do you feel that way as somebody who follows NC State athletics, ACC athletics, that it's changed? Especially you look at the SEC. Really dominance in basketball, Big Ten as the football champion, that the ACC is almost trying to play catch up right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a big part of that is money. It's not just the fact that, you're not competitive enough right now, but it's also just the fact that, these teams have more money to spend. And with the revenue sharing coming in, that's expected to help across the board. But there's so much money coming in from a revenue standpoint already, and being able to kind of put some of that in NIL for the SEC and Big Ten teams, that they're going, all right, we're going to spend. There's been several teams that have said we're going to use our entire allotment of revenue sharing, which is $20.5 million, and we're going to pour that all into football. And we're going to say, all right, the rest of the programs are going to be substantial enough NIL wise to compete. You think of like an LSU, Alabama, those programs. The NIL is already good enough if you pour it just into basketball and women's basketball and things along those lines. Baseball obviously being one too. But they're just going to say, all right, all the revenue sharing is going to go straight to football. And how much has that changed the complexion of the college game for programs like the ACC and Big 12 that maybe don't have the NIL right now to compete with those types of programs. So it's going to be an interesting next few years as the ACC tries to get back in it. Obviously, from a basketball standpoint, you've seen the past couple weeks some of the hires that have been made by ACC programs. We talked about Will Wade earlier. They feel like that should make them more competitive. Now it's about having the money to go out there and get the players that you want to be able to compete on a consistent basis too.
Good stuff from Cory Smith. Long before Cory was associated with Pack Pride, I was a lurker, and there's nothing more entertaining than going over there after an NC State loss. And after a big win, I'll go check it out as well. But always been a Pack Pride lurker, and a lot more than just the message board, though, Cory. I was following you during the Will Wade stuff. You were all over that, and articles, a lot of good stuff going on over there, right?
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we've got a lot of. It's very, very active right now. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, still looking for 7 players in the transfer portal or potentially in the 2025 class that they're looking to add over the next couple weeks as they try to round into things and get into the summer and then get out there and get the first recruiting class built as well.
Cory, thanks for joining us, man. We'll catch up with you later on this year and talk some Pirate and Pack football.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Have a good one.